South Africa's Department of Arts and Culture has developed a new strategy to create sustainable employment and the right environment for arts and other creatives. This strategy was crafted by various role players from within the arts and culture sector at a summit in Johannesburg. Joining us for a look at the department's job creation drive is the Minister of Arts and Culture, Paul Mashatile. Hi, Minister.
Good afternoon.
Big picture, what have you come up with that you didn't have before in terms of the arts and culture creating jobs?
Well, we have decided that arts and culture can play a role in growing the economy and creating jobs. We came with an idea of what we call Mzansi Golden Economy. And basically the idea was that our economies have been driven by primary industries, by mining. But in this period where we are, we think the creative industries, the cultural industries are going to be the major drivers of growth. Hence, we're talking about the golden economy. So we are saying arts and culture, the creative industries are our new gold.
Of course, traditionally, it's been seen as an underfunded area. And you probably try and get more money from Pravin Gordhan if you could. But it tends to be a soft area, and when the crunch is on, not much money is allocated. Have you got money to do what you want to do?
In fact, interestingly, when I went to Cabinet in 2011, where the Lekgotla, and I said, I think this is the way to go, and I had full support from Cabinet, and they said, well, come up with a plan. And hence we had that summit in 2011. They came up with the concept of the golden economy, Mzansi Golden Economy, and we went back to National Treasury and said, these are some of the things we can do. We're looking at heritage, building new museums through the liberation route. We looked at building an art bank, a whole sort of initiative, and in fact, we're able to get additional funding to do this work.
Now, what are the principles that guide you? Because you will have lots of artists and creative people out there who say, we are a deserving cause, you know, from opera to ballet to traditional art to whatever. What are the principles that guide you in the allocation of your spending?
Well, of course, as you say, the demands are quite high in our sector. What we are saying to people is that show us how you can create jobs. And, you know, from music to craft, to heritage. Let me just make an example. We are now looking at building new museums and monuments throughout the country. In OR Tambo's village, we will be spending 25 million rands in the first phase of the development.
Well, let's look at that example. And how will you, what will you spend that money on?
Building a monument, an interpretation center, and when you do that, you actually create jobs locally and you stimulate the local economy. Same in KZN with the Dube monument. We're actually creating a craft market there. We've just completed Steve Biko Memorial Center in the Eastern Cape, where we spent about more than 100 million rands. And a lot of jobs are going to be created there. There'll be an internet cafe, there'll be a library, and a hall where people will have all sorts of activities. So what is guiding us now is to say, whether you do heritage or you do a music festival, look at how you can create jobs, even if it's short-term employment.
Now, isn't it in the nature of arts and culture that you're going to get very few permanent jobs, because it can be project-based? In the performing arts, it's a particular production. We think of the Grahamstown Festival, where everyone comes together for 10 days, then it's finished. So there are lots of jobs created, but temporary. Yeah,
but what we do is create cultural precincts so that we have activities throughout the year. So you don't just have one event, is art festival in Grahamstown, and then that's it. You must have events throughout the year. And also there are other spin-offs. Remember, you may create direct jobs with the activity, but there are other spin-offs, because when people go to the art festival, they book hotels, restaurant,
so when
flights,
you talk about
creating
jobs, are you including things like hotels, restaurants, suppliers?
I'm including all that, which is normally not captured as part of the creative economy. You know, people tend to separate tourism from heritage, when in fact, when people come to in a city, they go to the museums, they go to the monuments, but often that is not seen. If you build proper museums, you're going to attract tourists. If you attract tourists, you stimulate local economy, so people have things to sell, and therefore they employ people. So we are now beginning to look at how do we capture that data to show that indeed this sector has a very important role to play in the economy.
So part of it is measuring.
It's measuring
where you are and where you've got to get
Yeah.
to. Now, the numbers don't look big, but one mustn't be skeptical about that, because any job created is another family that's got work and income. It's 90 jobs here, 100 jobs there, indirect, direct, but they begin to add up, judging by all your projects. You seem to have a few dozen projects that you're going to
They begin to add up. For instance, with a sourcing company that we are going to start, we're looking at about 10,000 over the next 3 years. Over the next 5 years, we're already in some sectors looking at 150,000. But for instance, if you take the Jazz Festival in Cape Town, estimation is that in 2010, what came into the economy of Cape Town is about 500 million rands. Then you must begin to look at where does the money go to.
Because your difficulty is it's no use taking established things like the Grahamstown Festival or the Jazz Festival. You're wanting to create new jobs. Those are already servicing jobs. The other difficulty for you is to make sure that the projects are sustainable. And we've had some bad experiences in South Africa, let's be honest. I mean, Robben Island has had difficulties where it's a great heritage site for obvious reasons. It hasn't been run very well.
Yeah, but also is also upscaling those that already exist. So if the Jazz Festival was drawing in 20,000 people, grow it to 30,000. That's one of the things we are doing. Grow those that are existing, scale them up, because when you do that, you'll scale the revenues, the job creation. Those that are not working well, like Robben Island, fix them, because if you do, the tourists will come. When the tourists come, the revenue comes in, you can create employment.
Quite a lot of the projects that you've listed are in rural areas, and there are reasons for that, heritage reasons. Not easy to get to, some of them. So now we're talking about the quality of roads, and it becomes a different kind of proposition.
Yeah, when I went to the OR Tambo homestead, for instance, I said to the Minister of Public Works, why don't you partner with me? I'm going to create a museum there, an interpretation center. You fix the road. And I create jobs through building the monuments, the craft centers. You create jobs by building the road. So we are together.
Have you tested what interest there will be in that? Because if it's far to go, it's less likely that foreign tourists who don't know their way around anyway are going to say, well, it's a long way to go to see a translation center.
I was quite surprised when I went to the area where Nelson Mandela was born, in Kunu. I found that, in fact, tourists come as far as that. But of course, if you don't fix the road, it's going to be a problem. So Minister of Public Works said, yes, I'll work with you. Let's fix the road. Even places like Mapungubye in Limpopo, we make sure it's accessible. Maruping here in Gauteng, all those places.
Do you have monitoring systems in place so that you set up the project, you get it going? Have you got the capacity in your department? And if not, who else is going to do it to check that these things carry on and don't fall into disrepair?
The good thing with Arts and Culture is that we have lots of institutions. We have now set up a monitoring mechanism to be able to track this. But also, as I said, we need an observatory to collect data. That's the problem of the creative economies have a problem because data is dispersed. So you don't just quite know how much jobs you're creating, but in fact you are. So we need to collect that data. We need to analyze it so that we can improve on what we're doing.
So how much money are you going to spend, and how many jobs do you expect to create if it all works as you plan?
Well, with the additional monies that we got from National Treasury from Zanzibar Golden Economy, we have about 700 million more money than we had before to put in these projects. But we want to build a National Skills Academy for the arts. That will be additional money. What National Treasury does is that when you have plans, come to them. Don't come with ideas. So we believe that we will get money as and when we put concrete plans on the table.
And if all that happens, how many jobs do you expect to create?
Well, you know, the country at the moment is crying to create about 5 million jobs in the next 10 years. We think that we should contribute as a creative economy as many of those jobs as possible. I mean, if I can try and push the arts sector to even contribute 500,000 of those jobs, I'll be very happy in the next coming 3-4 years.
Well, that would be wonderful.
Yes, yes.
That's Minister Paul Mashatile from the Arts and Culture Department.